Good morning. Of course, the dog knows I'm going live right now. And he's chewing on his bone. The joys of having a dog. Today is Tuesday, which means it is AA Day. I'm thankful to be here, blessed to have what I have, and so happy to still be sober. I'll wait a couple of minutes and let people come in if there's going to be anybody come in. Good morning, Lily. Thank you for being here. I have somebody in the Facebook side, but I can't see you. So, anyways, yeah, it's AA Day. And he's gonna be noisy. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for his noisiness. Anyway, so some rules for the channel. Please, no harassment, no judgment. Be kind to one another. And please remember, just because they come in the chat does not make them the alcoholic. They could just be here to support my channel or want to learn ways that maybe they could change their life, help other people in their family or their friends that may be an alcoholic, help them to become sober and start their journey on sobriety. That's all. And yeah, I always put in the description what book we're reading, what page we're on, and the step tradition or story, because I do read more than just one book. So yeah. Hello, Misha. Thank you for being here. So let's go ahead and say our serenity prayer and get going on this meeting. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right. Step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. What are you eating? Made a searching and fearless inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Hello, Willard, over on Facebook. Thank you for coming. Okay, we're on step 5 on page 55. I'll give you all a second to get to that page. Just drink some of my soda. All right. Step 5. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrong. All of AA's 12 steps ask us to go contrary to our natural desires. They all deflate our egos. When it comes to ego deflation, few steps are harder to take than 5, but scarcely any step is more necessary to long-time sobriety and peace of mind than this one. AA experience has taught us we cannot live alone with our pressing problems and the character defects which cause or aggravate them. If we have swept the searchlight of step 4 back and forth over our careers, and it has revealed in stark relief those experiences we'd rather not remember. If we have come to know how wrong thinking and action have hurt us and others, then the need to quit living by ourselves with those tormenting ghosts of yesterday gets more urgent than ever. We have to talk to somebody about them. So intense, though, is our fear and reluctance to do this that many AAs at first try to five, uh, bypass step 5. We search for an easier way, which usually consists of the general and fairly painless admission that when drinking we were sometimes bad actors. Then, for good measure, we add dramatic descriptions of that part of our drinking behavior, which our friends probably know about anyhow. But of the things which really bother and burn us, we say nothing. Certain distressing or humiliating memories we tell ourselves ought not be shared with anyone. These will remain our secret, not our soul must ever know. We hope they'll go to the grave with us. Hello, Kenny. Thank you for sharing and thank you for coming. Yet, if AA's experience means anything at all, this is not only unwise, but is actually a perilous resolve. Few muddled attitudes have caused us more trouble than holding back on step 5. Some people are unable to stay sober at all. Others will relapse periodically until they really clean house. Even AA old-timers sober for years often pay dearly for skimping the steps. They will tell how they tried to carry the load alone, how much they suffered of irritability, anxiety arose, and depression, and how unconsciously seeking relief they would sometimes accuse even their best friends of the very character defects they themselves were trying to conceal. They always discovered that relief never came by confessing the sins of other people. Everybody had to confess his own. This practice of admitting one's defect to another person is, of course, very ancient. It has been validated in in every century, and it characterized the lives of all spiritually centered and truly religious people. But today, religion is by no means the sole advocate of this saving principle. Psychiatrists and psychologists point out the deep need every human being has for practical insight, the knowledge of his own personality flaws, and for a discussion of them with an understanding and trustworthy person. So far as alcoholics are concerned, AA would go even further. Most of us would declare that without a fearless admission of our defects to another human being, we could not stay sober. It seems plain that the grace of God will not enter to expel or our destructive obsession until we are willing to try this. What are we likely to receive from step 5? For one thing, we shall get rid of that terrible sense of isolation we've always had, almost without exception. Alcoholics are tormented by loneliness. Even before our drinking got bad and people began to cut us off, nearly all of us suffered the feeling that we didn't quite belong. Just a second, Facebook. I gotta let you know I'm live. Where did it go? Alright, well, I'll just have to message him after. Either we were shy or dared not draw near others, or we were apt to be nosy good fellows, craving attention and companionship, but never getting it, at least to our way of thinking. There was always that mysterious barrier we could neither surmount nor understand. It was as if we were actors on a stage, suddenly realizing that we did not know a single line of our part. That's one reason we loved alcohol too well. It did let us act spontaneously, but even Bacchus boomeranged on us. We were finally struck down and left in terrified loneliness. We who reached AA and for the first time in our lives stood among people who seemed to understand. The sense of belonging was tremendously exciting. We thought the isolation problem had been solved, but we soon discovered that while we were alone any more in a social sense, we still suffered many of the old pangs of anxiety, apartness, until we talked with complete candor of our conflicts and had listened to someone else do the same thing. We still didn't belong. Step 5 was the answer. It was the beginning of true kinship with man and God. This vital step was also the means by which we began to get the feeling that we could be forgiven, no matter what we had thought or done. Often it was while working on this step with our sponsor or spiritual advisor that we first felt truly able to forgive others, no matter how deeply we felt they had wronged us. Our moral inventory had persuaded us that all round forgiveness was desirable, but it was only when we resolutely tackled step 5 that we inwardly knew we'd be able to receive forgiveness and give it to. Another great divide we may expect from confiding our defects to other human beings in humility, a word often misunderstood. To those who have made progress in AA, it amounts to a clear recognition of what and who we really are, followed by a sincere attempt to become what we could be. Therefore, our first practice move toward humility must consist of recognizing our deficiencies. No defects can be corrected unless we clearly see what it is. But we shall have to do more than see. The objective look at ourselves we achieved in step 4 was, after all, only a look. All of us saw, for example, that we lacked honesty and tolerance, that we were beset at times but attacks. Copper, will you lay down? By attacks of self-pity or disillusion. Will you get out of my laundry? Disillusions of personal grandeur. But while this was a humiliating experience, it didn't necessarily mean that we had yet acquired much actual humility. Though now recognized our defects were still there. Something had to be done about them, and we soon found that we could not wish or will them away by ourselves. More realism and therefore more honesty about ourselves are the great gains. I lost my spot. Just a second. More realism and therefore more honesty about ourselves are the great gains we make under the influence of step 5. As we took inventory, we began to suspect how much trouble self delusion had been causing us. This had brought a disturbing reflection. If all of if all our lives we had more or less fooled ourselves, how could we now be so sure that we weren't still self deceived? How could we be certain that we had made a true catalog of all defects and had really admitted them, even to ourselves, because we were still bothered by fear, self pity, and hurt feelings? It was probable we couldn't appraise ourselves fairly at all. Too much guilt and remorse might cause us to dramatize and exaggerate our shortcomings, or anger and hurt pride might be the smoke screen under which we were hiding some of our defects while we blamed others for them. Possibly, too, we were still handicapped by many liabilities, great and small, we never knew we had. Hence, it was most evident that a solitary self-appraisal and the admission of our defects based upon that alone wouldn't be nearly enough. We'd have to have outside help if we were surely to know and admit the truth about ourselves. The help of God and another human being only by discussing ourselves, holding back nothing, only by being willing to take advice and accept direction, we could set foot on the road to straight thinking, solid honesty, and genuine humility. Yet many of us still hung back. We said, why can't God, as we understand Him, tell us where we are astray? If the Creator gave us our lives in the first place, then He must know in every detail where we have since gone wrong. Why don't we make our admission to Him directly? Why do we need to bring anyone else into this? At this stage, the difficulties of trying to deal rightly with God by ourselves or twofold or are twofold, though we may at first be startled to realize that God knows all about us. We are apt to get used to that quite quickly. Somehow being alone with God doesn't seem as embarrassing as facing up to another person until we actually sit down and talk aloud about what we have so long hidden. Our willingness to clean house is still largely theoretical. When we were when we are honest with another person, it confirms that we have been honest with others, with ourselves, and with God. The second difficulty is this: that comes to us alone may be garbled by our own rationalization and wishful thinking. I'm not good with long words, just so y'all know. So sometimes I will skip them. The benefit of talking to another person is that we can get his direct comment and counsel on our situation, and there can be no doubt in our minds what that advice is. Going it alone in spiritual matter is dangerous. How many times have we heard well-intentioned people claim the guidance of God when it was all too plain that they were sorely mistaken, lacking both practice and humility? They had deluded themselves and were able to justify the most errant nonsense on the ground. That is, this was what God had told them. It is worth nothing that people are very high spiritual development, almost always instinct on checking with friends or spiritual advisors the guidance they feel they have received from God. Surely then a novice ought not lay himself open to the chance of making foolish, perhaps tragic blunders in this fashion. While the comments or advice of others may have by no means infallible, it is likely to be far more specific than any direct guidance we may receive while we are still so inexperienced in establishing contact with a power greater than ourselves. We check, see how many more pages. Okay, I'm almost done with this one. Our next problem will be to discover the person in whom we are to confide. Here we ought to take much care, remembering that prudence is a virtue which carries a high rating. Perhaps we shall need to share with this person facts about ourselves which no other ought to know. We shall want to speak with someone who is experienced, who not only has stayed dry, but has been able to surmount other serious difficulties. Difficulties perhaps like our own. This person may turn out to be one's sponsor, but not necessarily so. If you have developed a high confidence in him or her and his temperament and problems are close to your own, then such a choice will be good. Besides, your sponsor already has the advantage of knowing something about your case. Perhaps, though, your relation to him or her is such that you would care to reveal only a part of your story. If this is the situation, by all means do so, for you ought to make a beginning as soon as you can. It may turn out, however, that you'll choose someone else for the more difficult and deeper revelations. This individual may be entirely outside of AA. For example, your clergyman or your doctor. For some of us, complete strangers may prove to be best bet. The real test of the situation are your own willingness to confide and your full confidence in the one with whom you share your first accurate self-survey. Even when you've found the person, it frequently takes great resolution to approach him or her. No one ought to say that AA program requires no willpower. Here is one place you may require all you've got. Happily, though, the chances are that you will be in for a very pleasant surprise. And your mission is carefully explained and it is seen by the recipient of your confidence how helpful he can really be. The conversation will start easily and soon become eager. Before long, your listener may well tell a story or two about himself, which will place you even more at ease. Provided you hold back nothing, your sense of relief will mount from minute to minute. The dammed up emotions of years break out of their confinement and miraculously vanish as soon as they are exposed. As the pain subsides, a healing tranquility takes its place, and when humility and serenity are so combined, something else of great moment is apt to occur. Many of many an AA, once agnostic or atheist, tell us that it was during this stage of step 5 that he first actually felt the presence of God. And even those who had faith already often become conscious of God as they never were before. The feeling of being at one with God or one with God and man, this emerging from isolation through the open and honest sharing of our terrible burden of guilt, brings us to a resting place where we may prepare ourselves for the following steps towards a full and meaningful sobriety. After I did step 4 and I got into step 5 the first time, ouch. Because it took me quite a while to do step 4, because I had a lot of stuff that I wasn't sure about. And so, and I already had a sponsor. I got my sponsor, I think maybe a week or two after I started. But I had already decided before that I wanted her to be who I can confide in. And, having a sponsor has been the greatest thing for me. And then again, having sponsees has been a great thing for me because, from my experience, they can feel that they're not alone with things that they have done, things that they have said, uh, things that have happened to them. You can relate to the recovering alcoholics. You can relate to the person who's still suffering. And to me, that is amazing because even though you might feel like you're not actually helping anyone, which is what I have felt, I feel it more often than not. But I also have those people that reach out and say, you have helped me so much just by doing your meetings. And sometimes they're not even the alcoholic or the recovering alcoholic. Sometimes they are just here helping a friend or a family member. And that's what I'm doing this for. It's free. Something I was given for free. The tools to be able to live a better life with sobriety and not have to worry about, oh no, I need that drink, because I don't. I don't need that drink. I have not needed that drink for a very long time. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud that I am a recovering alcoholic. And some people might say, oh, well, and I'll be like, you know what? No. Don't try to knock my sobriety. Don't even try it, because that is my number one goal every day. My number one goal every day is to stay sober for that day. That is all I can do, is one day at a time. I can't say I'm not going to drink tomorrow because tomorrow's not here and yesterday's gone. So what do I have? I have today. And even if you're just listening and you're thinking about getting sober, just remember you will have today. You wake up tomorrow, you will have tomorrow. It is hard to do. It's not a cakewalk. I'm not sugarcoating any of my sobriety. I struggled a lot with opening up, getting my voice. talking to people, sharing that I'm an alcoholic, because my family knew before I did. Honestly, they really did. They had to have known before I did. Because when I finally admitted it, they're like, we already know. I didn't have to tell them. Because see, when you're in that stage of mind where you think that you're doing a great job of hiding that you're drinking, you're only fooling yourself, to be honest. Really, you are. That's all you're doing is fooling yourself, thinking, oh, they don't know I put that there. They're never going to find it. They don't know that I'm drinking. I'm chewing a piece of gum. They won't know. Um, I'm sucking on a cough drop. They won't know. No, they know. I can tell you, they know. They know. And I'm not saying that to scare you, but they know because they care. They love you. They don't want you to go down that road. They want to help you and uplift you and let you know that sobriety is achievable. No matter how far down you've gone, you can always come back out. You can come back out and have a successful life with no alcohol. With no alcohol. No drugs. You don't need it. You really don't. Because deep down, there is someone that really truly cares about you. Even if it was a stranger you just told something about in step 5, as it says, they do care because, they will think about that and they'll remember that someone said that to them once, you know? And that's why no matter where I go, whatever job I'm doing, I always say I'm a recovering alcoholic because I am. That's who I am. I am me and I'm not nobody else. I don't want to be anybody else, and I sure in the heck don't want to be who I was before my sobriety. My sobriety is number one, for sure. And I just pray for people that think that they're alone. I pray that they know that they're not. I pray that they find that happiness and they find their sobriety and they find a better life than the one that they've been dealt and think that they're stuck with. Change is great sometimes, especially when it comes to alcohol and drugs. Um, we all have someone we know and love that suffers from alcoholism or narcotics. There are most of us families that have those or have had those, and it's devastating. And knowing the things that I put my family through, I don't want to ever do that again because I know how bad I hurt them by my actions, my choices that I made to become the alcoholic that I had fought all the way up until my 30s. I fought it. I didn't want to be the alcoholic, and I became that alcoholic. So I was scared before I became an alcoholic, and I was scared while I was an alcoholic. And I still have my anxiety, I have my depression, but I'm dealing with that with my doctors and everything for that. And I don't wish to drink anymore. I don't want to drink anymore. I just want to help the next person that I can help in any way I can of being sober. even just talking here, you know? Being here with all of you guys helps me. Helps me help the next person. Helps you help the next person. So just do me a favor, subscribe and share and leave comment if you want. If you don't, I completely understand. But please let people know that they're not alone. And I do AA meetings on Tuesdays and Saturdays, same time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Just trying to help, trying to reach out and tell people you can get through it. You really can. And every day is worth it. No matter if you're crying, if you're happy, if you're sad, if you're mad, it's still a good day because you got that sobriety and you woke up today. And I'm so happy that I have all of you guys here. And I'm going to say the Serenity Prayer for Facebook, and then I will um, post the daily reflection up on Facebook, and I will read it over here on YouTube. Facebook, I'm going to go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer now. Um, if you want, I do upload these on Facebook. I do also do YouTube. So please watch the replay. This is step 5 that we read today. And I hope it helps you wherever you are in whatever you need the help with. And I love you guys. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Be safe. Daily reflection. February 6th. Today, February 6th. It is. So what I did is I downloaded a app on my phone that gives daily reflections and all of that. So that's where I get this from. Um, most of them have the books in the app as well. So if you want to read those, read along. That's how you can do that as well. A rallying point. Therefore, step 2 is the rallying point for all of us with agnostic, atheist, and or former believer. We can stand together on this step. Step 12 and 12 Traditions, page 33. I feel that AA is a God-inspired program and that God is at every AA meeting. I see, believe, and have come to know that AA's work because I have stayed sober today. I am turning my life over to AA and to God by going to an AA meeting. If God is in my heart and everyone else's, then I am a small part of a whole, and I am not unique. If God is in my heart and speaks to me through other people, then I must be a channel of God to other people. I should seek to do His will by living spiritual principles, and my reward will be sanity and emotional sobriety. Amen to that. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and stay safe out there. And don't forget to be kind and tell the people you love that you love them. You never know when it's going to be the last time. Love you guys. Be safe.